All right, now Illinois Governor Pat Quinn announced today he was doubling the number of unpaid furloughs for 2,700 state managers and staffers. The Distressed Debt Securities newsletter reported that 35 municipal bond issuers defaulted in the first 6 months of this year, 3 times the normal rate. So how bad are the finances of state and local governments? Joining us now is Thomas Gais. He's the director of the Rockefeller Institute of Government. Earlier this week, the institute reported that tax revenues of the states, adjusted for inflation, fell 14% in the first quarter compared to a year ago. So, Thomas, thanks for joining us. Is it that bad? I mean, at a time when Paul Krugman is calling for more stimulus, especially to help federal and state and local governments, do you think that we need it?
I think there's no doubt that states need it unless there are going to be some major shifts in the size of the state or the tax rates in the United States for state and local governments. We actually found a 2.5% increase in this last quarter, so it would seem as if there might be a little bit of a progress in recent months, except for the fact that, as you point out, there's been a 14% decline since the beginning of the recession in total state tax revenues, and so it's and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of other good news for states. Even though we saw a 2.5% increase in this last quarter, most states, 33 states, have been seeing declines. Beyond that, we're also beginning to see declines in local property taxes. That's going to be affecting schools. There'll be pressures on state governments to provide school aid. And of course, by the end of the year, the stimulus money that is provided by the federal government is going to be ending for the most part through the Medicaid program and the education programs.
Tom, let me break in for a second because, all right, obviously we know that the state of our states they're not good. It's a tough spot to be in. What would be the best kind of stimulus programs at this point that you think would help out our states across the country?
Well, they need fast money, and the fastest money to move the money quickly is still to use what they call FMAP, or the Federal Medical Assistance percentage that they provided through the stimulus package. That increases the amount of federal match that the feds give to the states through the Medicaid program. That's the fastest, easiest way to get a lot of money to the states. It doesn't just help the medical assistance programs, it also helps state revenues overall because Medicaid is such a large part of their budgets.
How do you find, Thomas, that tax increases help in boosting revenue? I mean, do you see capital fleeing those states that do that, or is it a smaller portion of your income so people stay and pay?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again?
How do you find that tax increases affect tax revenues in states? I mean, do people just move if you increase their taxes too much to another state?
There's not a lot of evidence that people move actually from one state to the other as a result of tax levels. I mean, it is true that most growth has been in states that have relatively low tax rates in the South, in the Southeast, in the Southwest, and in the Rocky Mountain states. However, that has most of the analyses don't find that taxes have a lot to do with it. Climate and jobs have a lot to do with that.
All right, Thomas, thanks so much for joining us. Thomas Gais there, director of the Rockefeller Institute of Government.